NBA Tip-Off is presented by AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
And welcome back, sports fans. It's been 9 years since the Spurs won a playoff series, but they can advance tonight with a Game 5 win over the Blazers. It's been so long since San Antonio lost a series with a 3-1 lead that the Spurs were actually in the Eastern Conference. It was 1979, and the Washington Bullets with Bobby Dandridge and Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld came back to beat them. But that was then, and this is now, and the Blazers are going to try to send the series back to Portland for Game 6. Time to check in with George Sedano, who is standing by in San Antonio. What you got for us tonight, George?
You know, EJ, the interesting part about tonight is that we know the toughest thing in sports is to replace a legend, and Mitch Johnson has just done a phenomenal job thus far to this point in the season. And he's a bit of a chip off the old block when it comes to his coaching style. When you talk to the players around here, they'll tell you, we know that when Mitch is not yelling at you or getting on you, that's when we know something's wrong. And by the way, he did that coming out of that game or out of the half the other day in that last game where they were trailing by 17 points. He got on all the guys, including Victor Wembanyama. And if you look around the locker room, the guys, they appreciate that. Much like Pop would go at Tim and Manu and Tony Parker, he would go at Victor just as hard as any other guy. And I think that really makes things certainly a more level playing field and creates an opportunity for guys to feel like, hey, we're all in this thing together. The interesting part, though, about Wembanyama is that Mitch has told us that, you know, Wemby's a guy that can do a lot of different things, and it comes in spurts, and it feels like a tornado when he's out there, you know, rebounds, blocks, and scoring and whatnot. He'd like it to be a little more sustained throughout his minutes. So something to keep an eye on, see how the young fella responds to that, EJ.
George Sedano.
The Inside the NBA crew just previewed Game 5 between the Spurs and the Blazers. And Shaquille O'Neal said something that I have been thinking for the last 3 games. The Spurs look unstoppable right now. And Victor Wembanyama is going to close out the Blazers tonight. I know Charles Barkley said the Spurs are championship contenders. I know Kenny Smith said their guard trio is the best in basketball. And for once, I agree with all of them. The Spurs are not just winning this series. They are sending a message to the entire Western Conference. Let me break this down for you because nobody else will. The first 2 minutes of this video show George Sedano reporting from San Antonio. And he talks about something that I think is the most underrated aspect of this Spurs team: the coaching. Mitch Johnson has done a phenomenal job replacing a legend. And the players have bought in completely. George said that the players know when Mitch is not yelling at you or getting on you, that is when something is wrong. He got on all the guys, including Victor Wembanyama, when they were trailing by 17 points the other day. And the players appreciate that. They appreciate that he treats Wembanyama just like Pop would treat Tim Duncan or Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker. That is culture. That is accountability. That is why the Spurs have been good for decades. And that is why they are going to be good for the next decade. Shaq talked about the system. He said if the general does not panic, troops never panic. And every time they show Coach Johnson, he is composed. He is doing the right thing. And that composure trickles down to the players. The Spurs have fallen behind by double digits in each of the last 3 games. And every single time, they have come back and won. That is not luck. That is coaching. That is belief. That is a team that knows they are better than their opponent and never panics when things get hard. Charles Barkley said the Spurs are championship contenders. And I know some people think that is an overreaction. But watch this team play. They have a top 3 defense. They have a top 10 offense. They have the best defensive player in the league in Wembanyama. They have 3 guards who can all score 20-plus points on any given night. They have depth. They have coaching. They have home court advantage. And they have the best player in the series by a wide margin. That sounds like a championship contender to me. Shaq, as the president of the Big Man Alliance, evaluated Wembanyama's progression. He said he is seeing toughness. He is seeing adjustments. He said in 2 years, Wembanyama will be right next to Nikola Jokic as the best big in the league. Right now, he is number 2, but not far behind. And that is high praise from a top 5 center of all time. Shaq also mentioned that Wembanyama had 27 points, 12 rebounds, 7 blocks, and 4 steals the other day. Numbers we have not seen in a playoff game since Hakeem Olajuwon. And Wembanyama is doing. This in his first playoff series. He is 21 years old. He is not supposed to be this good yet. But he is. And that is terrifying for the rest of the league. Kenny Smith talked about the Spurs guard trio: De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Castle, and Dylan Harper. He said this is the best trio in basketball on the perimeter at guard positions. And I know that sounds like hyperbole. But look at the numbers. All three are averaging at least 20 points in this series. The last Spurs trio to do that was Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili in 2006. That is elite company. And these three guards are doing it in their first season playing together. Fox has found the fountain of youth. He is only 28 years old, but he is playing with a vibrancy that we have not seen in years. Castle has everything in the bag: defense, offense, strength, foresight. He sees plays before they happen. And Harper is a rookie who creates shots like a 10-year veteran. This trio is special. And they are only going to get better. Charles Barkley mentioned that the Spurs have a tremendous home court advantage. The crowd in San Antonio is going to be going crazy tonight. And Victor is going to want to put on a show. And that is exactly what is going to happen. Wembanyama has been waiting for this moment his whole life. His first chance to close out a playoff series at home. He is not going to let it slip away. The Blazers are a young, underrated team. Thiago Splitter has done a fabulous job with them. They have young talent. They have a bright future. But they are not ready to win a playoff series on the road against a team as good as the Spurs. The Spurs have fallen behind by double digits in 3 straight games. And they have won all 3. That is not sustainable long term. But for one more night, it is going to work. Because the Spurs have something that the Blazers do not have. A closer. A superstar. A 7'4" alien who can do things that no other player in the history of the league can do. When the game is on the line, the Spurs can give the ball to Wembanyama and get out of the way. The Blazers do not have that. They do not have a player who can take over a game in the fourth quarter. They do not have a player who can block a shot, grab a rebound, start the break, and finish with a dunk on the other end. They have good players. They do not have a great player. And in the playoffs, great players win games. Here is what I think happens tonight. The Blazers come out hot. They are young, they are confident, they have nothing to lose. They hit some threes. They get the crowd nervous. They build a lead. Maybe 8 points. Maybe 10 points. And then the Spurs settle in. The guards start attacking. Wembanyama starts dominating the paint on defense. The crowd gets loud. The Spurs go on a run. They take the lead by halftime. In the third quarter, they extend it. The Blazers try to fight back, but every time they get close, Wembanyama makes a play. A block. A dunk. A three. A steal. He take. It's over. The Spurs win by 12 to 15 points. They advance to the second round. And the entire league takes notice. The Spurs are not a cute story. They are not a feel-good underdog. They are a legitimate threat to make the Western Conference Finals. And Victor Wembanyama is the reason why. Subscribe to the channel if you want real playoff analysis. Not the doubt. Not the "they are too young" excuses. Just the truth about the most exciting young team in basketball. And comment below. Do the Spurs close out the Blazers tonight or do they choke? I read every single comment. Now let me know your thoughts and get ready for the second round.